Hello everyone, my name is Billy, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to use Azure Devops Pipeline build and release. We're going to start off this video by creating an ASP.NET Core app, and then I'm going to set up the build and the release process, and then I'm going to actually add another MVC app to this, and we're going to break our build, and then I'm going to fix it afterwards, just to kind of show you guys a more real-life app that is more complicated than just one simple project. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is create our ASP.NET Core app. So make sure you choose the right directory with the repo. I will choose ASP.NET Core Web App, and just going to give it a quick name, ASP.NET Core App, just so I know what framework, because I'm going to be creating a MVC one later. So just click yes, and I'm going to choose once again MVC app, just so we have some kind of UI to display when we do our deployment. And if you already have a project, don't need to repeat this process. You just want to do your build. So I'm just going to do this quick setup first. So I'm going to save. I'm going to build. And then I'm going to check in the code, and we're going to go right to the CI/CD to start our process. So changes. So you can kind of see there's a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to actually include one extra step here, which is to add a git ignore. So I found a Visual Studio git ignore, which is pretty contains all the pretty useful stuff like our bin files, object files, and all that stuff that should be ignored. So I'm going to add our git ignore, and this is actually quite a useful thing to know. Git ignore, so you go dot in front. You actually have to end it with a dot if you want to actually create a file with a dot in front, or else it's going to say that it's an invalid path. I'm going to do that, add that, and I'm just going to add the git ignore. Then I'm going to open Visual Studio again, and should now ignore all my extra stuff. So I'm going to do added ASP.NET Core app. Right, we're just going to push that. Okay, so now that that's out, we should be able to start our build process. So let's get started. Okay, so open up Azure DevOps, and we're going to go to Pipelines, which is the rocket ship. All right, and then we're going to create a new build first. So we're going to use the Visual Designer, because I find that unless your job is to do DevOps, it's kind of better to do YAML. But if you're just kind of doing this as a one-off thing for yourself, or like even for your team, if you don't have a DevOps specialist, just use the UI tool. It's much better. It'll get the job done. Okay, so we're going to go core. We're going to choose this one because we're going to first build our ASP.NET Core app. All right, and then I'm just going to quickly explain some of the stuff we're going to do here. So, and when we're building and deploying, we're going to do a restore, then we're going to do a .NET build, run any unit tests, we're going to publish to a specific file, and then we're going to publish those artifacts that we have published. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to change this to hosted Visual Studio 2017. I'm going to change this to actually, you know what, I'm just going to leave the name so that you guys can rename whatever you guys would like. So we have a couple of things here. We're going to leave these for now, but just know that these are your variables that appears in the gray. Test. Okay, so that's where that is. Whoops. That's where these are. We'll leave it for now, but once later when we start breaking things and add a new project, we're going to actually modify it. So this should be sufficient. So build, restore, test, and this publish. The one key thing to note is it has an output right here. And this output is a variable directory that it goes to here, and it will get picked up by this right here. See, notice the directories are the same. This is very important to know. And once it goes here, it'll get dropped off into a place for the release to pick it up. Okay, so we're going to save. All right, and then I just want to show you one thing here in the build. So you can set up your continuous integration. Okay. And then you can set it up for path changes, like right here. You can set up for specific repos. If you have like a different branches coming here, you can have a develop branch, you can have a UAT branch, you can have it scheduled by time. So if your project is a little bit more complicated, you should start having different branches, and then you should start pathing it so that it triggers for specific apps. So if you have many apps in one repo, start pathing them up, start sending up builds for different apps, and this is where you can do it. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the commits to master so that I can just show you guys later like how it will trigger on its own, and I won't set up any times or anything. So I'm just going to save that. Okay, so now we have our build here. It has not run yet. You can queue it up right here or right here. Over now, we're going to set up our release first. So we're going to go new. Okay, and you're going to be given a bunch of options. I'm going to choose ASPNET or the Azure App Service. Okay, once you hit this, honestly, the UI takes you to nowhere. You're going to see that there's a little exclamation mark here. There's a little exclamation mark here. Clicking this and clicking this will do exactly the same thing. So if you click this, notice how your tab will change, and then the same view here for your pipelines. Okay, that's kind of one of those weirdly confusing things that people can't seem to understand the first time. Maybe it's just bad UX, but that's kind of what I noticed. Next thing is you're gonna have to choose your subscription. I have my free tier, and you're gonna want to authorize it if you haven't. Once you click this, it'll just ask you to sign into your Azure account and everything. So make sure you have your admin rights. So I'm going to use the one I've already authorized. Just give this a quick refresh. And then this is my app service that I've already created in the first video. So if you haven't done that, make sure you go back and watch that video. So you click here, web app. There's choices for Azure functions and other things like that. Everything else you should just kind of leave it the same. Transforms for XML transforms if you have a web config. Let's see. There is one thing that you might want to turn on. I believe it's publish using web deploy. I think this will kind of, yeah, remove additional files at destination. So this is kind of just to clean up everything in case you have changes that aren't overwritten. So that's good to keep. I think that's it. So you can also add different things here too. You can add a smoke test. So once your app deploys, you can add the smoke test. It's a free plugin to do, and just call that endpoint to make sure you get a 200 response. You can also add things like Azure App Service. You can add the manage, and in the manage one, what you can do is you can restart app service. So after you've done a deploy, you can do a restart. And then if you have the more, I guess, after basic, and then you actually go to production, you actually have deployment slots. So you can do deployment slots where you deploy to staging, and then you just swap staging with production, and then it kind of works very nicely. So I'm going to remove that for now. We're just going to leave that, have very basic. So that's our stage setup. Now we need to know the artifact. So we're going to click this, and we're going to choose the build source that we just created earlier. And remember how there was a drop. So that drop will automatically know to go here now. So now we've connected the two. So we click add. And then we're going to make this kind of continuous as well. So we're going to trigger continuous deployment trigger. We're going to make that enabled, and then we're going to not filter, but if you would like to, you could say include specific ones only, or exclude like I guess feature branches or dev branches. And then you can also do it by pull request. So you can have pull requests trigger them as well. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to include master, just so that when I deploy to master, it will automatically trigger. So do that. And then the next thing is I'm going to show you, but I'm not going to actually set it up right now, is approvals. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do here, like different kind of restrictions. I like to add pre-deployment approvals, especially if it's like going to go to production. Like if it's going to development, obviously you don't really need to have approvals, but here you can kind of just add who you want it to approve. Like for example, I would add my own email, and then it would send me an email, follow the link, then I would have to click approve to get it to actually deploy. If you have different stages, you can also do a deploy to staging, and then the deployment to production will require approval. So if you want more detailed tutorials like that, I can actually just go through and probably do one of those for you guys. But for now, we're going to keep it simple. Automatically, no approval, automatic triggers. I'm going to click save. Oh, I forgot to give this a name. So this is going to be ASPNET core deploy. And then I guess this is to demo, since it was to my demo app service. Okay, so go back to release, and there's our release. And you can see that there's no actual releases started yet, right? No build started. So we're going to go back to Visual Studio, and I'm going to create a commit, and then that commit should start triggering everything. All right, so we're gonna just make a very simple commit to the app settings here. I'm just gonna create something that's non-impacting, does nothing. Okay, we're going to commit that, and we're going to see we're going to just see the build trigger. Okay, so in our build, it should just automatically start triggering. Okay, perfect. So this spinning wheel means it's triggering. If it's a clock, it means that it is queued. So we're just going to just let this finish. I'm going to grab the, actually, we're going to watch it because it's probably going to finish pretty quickly. So yeah, because I want to show you guys the full process where it goes from build to release automatically, just so we can actually see that happen. I might want to open up the release in a separate tab so we can just see. Okay, so that's finished, and now the release got triggered. So it's queued, and then you'll see this. I don't think this is actually WebSockets right now, so it doesn't like this is WebSockets, so that it automatically updated on its own. This one actually requires refresh. So see, now it's actually in process. So I think this is just probably something that Microsoft will update over time. So once they do update it, then you don't have to keep refreshing like me. I'm gonna swap over to back to my original tab. Okay, so this should. I'm gonna just go to my portal. I'm just going to grab my URL. Get ready for that. Okay, so hopefully this will be done now. Perfect. So all right, I'm gonna do the deploy. I'm going to hit the URL, and we should be able to see the app. First load, remember, always is a little bit slower. Okay, so perfect. So it looks like it's actually triggering. I'm going to now add another app to this to our solution, and we're going to re-trigger the build by adding another app, and we're going to see how it's actually going to break our build system, and then we're going to go back and fix our build system. All right, so I'm going to open up this. So I'm going to add another app to the root level here. So let's do that. Let's go new. I'm going to specifically add a .NET Framework app. So ASPNET web, I guess we'll call it net MVC app. So remember, this is in .NET 4.6.1, so this will break our build, and I'll show you why in a sec. So we'll add the MVC just to have something. Okay. Yeah, this is just always taking a little while. Okay, so just do a quick build, and I'm going to .NET 4.461. Okay, so we're going to add that, and then once again it's going to trigger since we're pushing directly to master. But this time what we should see is we should see our build queue, and then we should see our build fail, and then we'll go dig into kind of the logs and kind of fix why that's happening. Okay. I guess we could just watch the build happen, so you can kind of see the steps. That's connecting, initializing, doing the checkout, and it should fail right around the build process. All right, and bam, failed. Okay, so if we dig into kind of why it failed, kind of see the MVC app. It doesn't really know what to do with it because, go back to our build definition. So the default one they gave us was every CS proj, right? And the build is, you can see net core build on a CS proj. So the project we just added was a 4.6. So I am going to assume that most people are not purely running on core, and your repo probably has various projects running in old.NET and new.NET, and maybe like a mix of a little bit of everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix our existing build, and we're actually going to add a build for the old.NET. So our first thing to do is unlink. And so right now these are grayed out, so you can't really edit them. What unlinking will do is kind of free it up so that we can actually modify each and individual one. So we're going to open our directory, and we're going to find the CS proj that we kind of care about. So I think here, just be mindful that as you kind of adjust yours, you can kind of put it in the proper directories too. You can also kind of do one of these where you go like that if you want to go another level deep, so it covers everything and then hits the CS proj and everything underneath this. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And then we're going to go, so this will now exclude the old .NET build from the build process. Do the same here. We're actually just going to disable this anyways, just to save a little bit of time. And everything else should be pretty good to remain the same. So we're going to save this. Okay, and now we're going to go here, and now I'm going to manually queue it. You can see on master build on hosted Visual Studio 2017 queue block, and then it should automatically change to the build. Perfect. So now we can watch this again. You can see the commit message was the same thing as last time, added ASPNET for MVC. So redo from the last commit that we have. Okay, check out, restore. And now here we can see that it's doing the net core ASP, right? And look, it skipped over the one that we didn't want it to do. Okay, now we got a publish issue because I made a silly mistake and I didn't click this. Okay, so make sure you publish web projects, uncheck that. Now I'm going to actually save and queue, and we got that same little thing we had earlier. We save and queue, go back here. Now it's going to queue again, so you don't have to save, you can just say save and queue and then click that. So we're going to watch it again. Okay. Okay, now we'll get to our publish. Perfect. Okay, so that looks like it's going to be successful. And we're done. So if you actually click this, you go to the release that, or we can trigger a release, I guess. So it should have started a release. Perfect. Okay, so we know that's going to go successful. So let's add actually a new build for the project we have just added. So we're going to add a build for the old MVC. So this is kind of like a little bit of a bonus I wanted to give you guys because I know some of you are still running probably the old style. So we're going to do something very simple. So we're going to go use visual one. we're going to use this. Obviously, if you're using GitHub, you can use that. And then we're going to go ASPNET, just kind of in case the order changes, just go net, and you should find ASPNET, or just type ASP.NET. Okay. Apply. I'm gonna give you something very similar. They have use NuGet, but NuGet restore, build, and then build, and then publishing, obviously. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this so you can see that it's grayed out again. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by unlinking. Okay, so we could do a restore on everything, or alternatively, what we're going to do is we're going to do what we did earlier, which is find the relative path of anything that we were interested in. So MVC, and then the solution is directly there under it. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this, and we're going to move that right there. Okay, so that will use that ASP.NET MVC apps solution file. Okay, so we're going to go build, replace build. I'm going to disable test and the publish symbol. So this is for debugging. So I'm also going to do a disable on this since we don't really need it, but just be mindful of your paths. If you want to do that, make sure you include your MVC app or whatever your pathing is to here. Okay. Very important. And then we see our publish artifacts, but we remember there used to have a previous step here before, which had a just publish, right? And it published to this directory. Now in the old one, it's kind of missing. So where is that now? It is right here in our build solution. You can see a package location, and you can see this directory right here. So this is how, if you use build solution rather than the ASP.NET Core one, this is how it configures its output. Okay. So that's right here. So keep that in mind that these have to match if you're kind of tweaking it around. Okay, so we're going to now save, and I'm going to just save in queue since you guys know that the trigger does work. So you can see that that actually does work properly. And instead of just watching it, I'm just going to come back to it since you guys know that, and I'm going to actually add a deploy process for this as well. So we're going to do the same thing, ASP.NET service. We're going to click this. We're going to add the one we just had. We're going to refresh to make sure they can pick up the service. And the great thing about app service is if you're switching from core to the old .NET framework, you don't really have to do anything. App service is a platform as a service that kind of knows how to handle that already for us. And then I guess I could have named these better, but core, obviously not core. So we're going to use the non-core version. Do the same thing, enable, add, and then add your master. Perfect. Once again, not going to add that trigger. I'm going to save. So you can see that although, well, I guess my build is actually still going. So once that's done, now it'll actually trigger this one, which I once again forgot to give it a good name. ASP.NET MVC app to demo. Okay. It's a nice readable name just to kind of keep things a little bit more organized. All right, let's check the progress. Publishing artifacts, and it's done. So now it should trigger here in our release. Once again, remember, releases are not automatic. You're gonna have to refresh. Okay, so this is our old site, remember? I'll just refresh it just to show you guys that it's still here. Hopefully it's actually not started yet. Yeah, so it's still here. So as soon as this release pipeline is done, oh, sorry, I didn't show you guys how I got there. I just clicked the actual release name, so release 1, and then it kind of took me here. So now that this is successful, I'm going to go to the app itself, and I'm going to refresh, and it should just show you the new app. Remember, once again, first load is always super slow, so don't let that hinder you to use that app service. All right, it's taking an incredibly long time. All right, there you go. So this is the old framework. If we wanted to redeploy it, obviously we run this again. So in a real world scenario, you clearly don't want to deploy to the same app because you'll be overriding yourself, but I just wanted to show you guys a quick example of how to do a CI/CD build system. So I hope you guys learned something from this, and I want to give you guys a little bonus clue. So you can kind of see that this was, oops, well, this isn't really like very useful, because what if you have class libraries and many class libraries using it? I know there's a way that Microsoft prefers to kind of have their foldering structure, so I will include this in the link where David Fowler, which is a part of the Microsoft's DevOps team, he kind of has a recommendation of how to kind of keep things a little bit more organized. And there's a whole discussion you guys want to kind of see, but I'm okay. Thank you for watching, guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed. This was hopefully a good beginner's guide to using the CI/CD system in Azure DevOps Pipeline. There are probably more complicated scenarios I could have gone through, but I hope this was enough to give you guys a good start into your projects. And if you have any questions, you can just leave it down below. I'll be happy to answer. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. See you guys next time.